And we are back again. That's like one of my favorite things to say.
Hell yeah.
When you're matching textures, that's you're doing a really good job of that.
I I caught on to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That I started in repairs. So I didn't start taping floating joints and butt joints and all that. I learned that probably like within the last 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been getting into the actual whole entire house tape and float finish within the last 2 years. Uh, but before that's been mostly repair jobs, matching texture. Uh, I I find it very similar when I'm sanding down, like when I'm grinding down my welds,
Hmm.
because I made a lot of like sheet metal stuff, and I would have to grind down the welds and blend it in with the actual surface, make it look like one. So I kind of found it similar. And then the texture portion, I have no clue, man. I just got it. Like I was luck. It was luck of the draw, to be honest. It was very lucky. I picked it up very quickly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Good for you. Yeah, because that's one of those. If I walk in and it's anything textured, I'd say we don't do that. I'm not even interested in trying to learn. I I would just rather skim it out or take it all down and redo it. It's I've seen so many shoddy um uh patch jobs where then you see it for the rest of your life, and I just don't want to ever want to do that to somebody. But yeah, that was really impressive what you guys are doing.
So you know
Uh
how you would talk about some people like try and reverse engineer certain tools and whatever. I'm I'm that person because in my heart I'm still a metal fabricator.
yep.
So I'm the builder of those tools. So I want to know, like, how is this functioning, Because that actually puts it into my mind like how I'm supposed to use it. And I just
Yes.
end up picking it up and being able to use it. It's weird.
So if you've got that kind of a brain that like almost sees like a fabricator's layout and how things go together and move, if that comes to you naturally, you should just watch the videos that like Columbia's put out of they'll do a walkthrough of the box and taking it apart, putting it back together, that kind of stuff. Because I think you'd get a lot out of that. The first month that I had the angle heads, I took them all apart and put them all back together. I
Hmm.
just I just wanted to do that, so I did it on camera, and I just it all made sense to me right away. Where I was like, this is here, and that moves, and these are like this, and as long as these meet like that, and right, it just I don't
Yeah.
know what it is about that, but yeah, if you've got the brain for that side of it, I think you'll pick it up very quickly. Of like the you apply the pressure and then the mud goes here and the trowel bar works like that and you'll be off to the races in no time.
Just make sure you're not tripping on nothing.
Yeah,
That's
Jesus.
it. That's
We had Cam on here with Josh. We did like a double where the two of them and I all hung out, and he said he walked right off the edge of a fucking scaffold one time where he's just like in the zone, right? You're just like, Jesus Christ.
that That happens to me anytime I'm on the work benches. At
Yeah.
least one time out of the day, I go tumbling off of that thing.
So I like slide my toe of my boot across things now because I used to do that a lot. And luckily I'm only on like a two or a three step because I'm tall enough to not need a huge scaffolding or whatever. But man, I was like, one of these times I'm gonna break my leg. There's no one else here on site.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't want stilts.
I don't know how it is over where you're at, but here in Texas, man, they got some pretty big ceilings, man. Monstrous.
Very grand.
Yeah, man. Like, we got to stack like 3 scaffolds to get up on them, and
Jesus.
it, it's some hard work, bro. Just
Yeah, I see a lot of that in the States where like there are just these like 20-foot high ceilings
yes,
in like a great room. And it's like, what the fuck do you need that for? But when you see it finished, you're like, wow. Like
yeah.
once it's painted and everything's in place, those like big grand rooms, they're something else.
See, we bought on my house when we moved out here for that reason, and we have about a 20-foot ceiling as well, vaulted ceiling in the living room,
Do you
and
love it?
not really.
No.
It's textured. I would love it
Okay.
textured, but I have this one really big wall, and they capped in the chimney too, so it's like a rounded drywall area. It's kind of cool with the radius. So I mean, what's behind you would look really cool on a big, big, big wall like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's making a couple of sample packs, like doing those little sample boards, that's key. That red wall down the end of my hallway there, I made a sample board that I thought looked pretty cool, and then I just wanted to see, can I transfer that onto the wall? And I
Mhm.
I feel like I did, but then I was like, I don't even like this. So I just went over it again.
Oh, that's awesome.
And now I like it a little bit more. It's I like things to have like a pop to them, like this, right? Where it's like you've got white on black, like it's very different. Um yeah, so you can kind of see it. So this is how the sample board turned out, right? Like I
Okay.
so the original one, the original one that I made on Black Friar, the teach out was that red and then a little bit of black into the red.
Mhm.
And it looked kind of cool, like kind of like tiger stripey or whatever. But when I put it on the wall, I was like, I don't like this at all. Like I achieved what I was doing, but I don't want it in my house.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I switched it all up, did this second design, and then I did that. I like that quite a bit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat stuff, man. But yeah, on a big grand wall like that, that would be dope.
Yeah, because I already want to do level 5 on the rest of it. But if
Hmm.
I do that, just that wall like that, because that's the wall the TV's on too, so it'll look pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was doing. I'm like, this is the wall that everybody sees with the podcast. So like, why are we not doing something cool with it?
I don't know. I gotta
And
put that right here, huh? I got
absolutely.
it here. I'm gonna look into that this coming week.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions you have, man, feel free.
All
And if
right.
I don't have the answers, Nick will. He's happier than shit to talk about Fresco Harmony.
Oh,
He's
cool.
oh yeah. He says we're down in Vegas and he goes, if any of my friends never heard of Fresco Harmony again, they would be totally okay with that.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
like, I mean, when you get a bunch of people that are excited about it in the same room, like, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I get like that with a lot of the different companies, like especially with 3M tape, they're coming out with some really cool stuff right now.
Yeah.
Uh, the the rep for my region here in San Antonio, she is really cool, man. She helps me out all the time, dude, teaching me about these new products they have.
Yep.
I've tried some of their fiber infused stuff, like, since I do a lot of repairs.
Yep.
I tried some of their fiber infused stuff, and to be quite honest, it holds up pretty good. And
Oh yeah.
it's some stuff that I've already screwed off and taped and floated, and the crack came back, and it hasn't come back yet.
Yeah.
I'm, I'm looking at it right now, and it still hasn't come back.
So you had a cracking and then you went over it with this like fiber infused stuff and then it held up.
Oh yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah, it's weird, man, but it does take 24 hours to dry. That's the bad part.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, so what? You work it into it. Yeah.
yeah, you could use it exterior, because I do stucco too. So
I was going to ask you about that. It looked like you filled a hole, like, I don't know if it was like a side door and then you made it into a window, or what did you do there?
That project, I mean, that was a cool learning curve.
I'd say.
I learned how to get my hot mud to stick to the plaster.
Yeah, okay.
It was plaster on the inside of the house and it was stucco on the outside of the house, but it was one of those wall AC units. There,
I wondered.
there was four of them throughout the whole house. So that was my first time ever doing stucco.
It
And
turned out.
yeah, dude, I was surprised. I just kind of like, I've done concrete before, a little bit here and there. So, I kind of thought to myself, well, if I just cake this on and let it set for a little while and then come back over it with a
Hmm.
sponge trowel or something like that, really soaking wet, I might be good. And you know what? I matched it perfectly.
Yeah.
I think that goes along with me knowing how to match texture in general. It
Yep.
it comes very naturally to match texture. I don't pick it up pretty quick.
Some guys just have that eye for it, of just like, how am I going to do this to make it look like that? And it's just so easy. And then there's some people that like overthink it. And I think that's probably where they fuck things up, where they're just, it looked good and then you touched it again and it looked a little less good and then you touched it again. Like, you just need to be like confident with I find that a lot with this fresco stuff, is you do need to be confident in your movements and then just don't fucking touch it again.
Yeah.
And then we'll back up 10 or 15 feet and then take a look at it as a whole, and you're much happier with it, and then you do see what needs a little bit more of whatever.
Yes.
It is kind of nice. The texture, I would assume, is a lot like the same, where you take a big step back and then you get a better idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell my guys all the time, even if you think like, man, I don't have enough texture on this wall, just wait.
Yeah.
Let it start to dry. And then if you need more, then do a couple another quick pulls on the trigger and in your circular motions to overlap it. And you're not gonna clump it up, because if you clump it up, then you're gonna start smearing it together. None of it's gonna skip on the wall. And then people try and wipe, like when do knockdown, there's a lot of knockdown texture here in San Antonio or in Texas in general. So when people try and wipe it too soon,
Yeah.
you got to let that top dry so that way you can drag it. And
Yeah, because you're like knocking it down like a pile of poker chips. You're not like smushing it flat, right? So there, it has to be getting tacky. That must be how you're. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, otherwise, it smears together and then it just looks dragged. Like
Hmm.
I learned in this room right here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
this ceiling looks very dragged, compared to like what the walls are.
Yeah. Okay.
The ceiling was popcorn before as well. So, I scraped, that's how I learned how to scrape popcorn too. With popcorn, removal, I go in with my Graco sprayer
Yep.
and I put a lot of people don't do this, but I put a little tiny cap of like dish soap or like a fabric softener. If it
Sure.
has like a primer on it or something, put a little tiny cap of fabric softener and mix it inside of a big 5-gallon bucket. And then I just run the paint sprayer through the house and let it soak in. And then I come really smooth with the Marshalltown
Yeah.
floor scraper. Some people are like, you use a floor scraper? I'm like, yeah, but if you let it soak in enough and you just glide the floor scraper across the ceiling, you're not going to ding it.
Yeah.
It's going to be perfect.
We had a customer that, so this guy buys a house and he doesn't get a home inspection, and he buys, it's like 120 over asking or something stupid. But he just needs the house, right? Like, the housing market out here is so crazy, you can't even get anything. If there's any sort of like stipulation, somebody else just buys it cash.
Yeah.
So he gets the entire house popcorn ceilinged, like knocked down, looks beautiful. Like, the guy did all the edges beautifully, like probably some of the best work I've seen. And then he's down in the kitchen and he pulls out the dishwasher and there's just black mold around where the penetration is into the wall. So he calls somebody and they come back and they start tearing the fucking thing, every single exterior wall. So it must have been a grow up or something like that for a long time. So they tore it all out. They had me come in to redo it all. And he was like, I think we're going to scrape it, but we'll get your opinion. And he's scraped the two upstairs bedrooms, the two small bedrooms, and it's fucked. Like there, there's more brown and like huge divots everywhere than there is fucking anything else. And I just told him, like, I don't know what we're thinking this is doing here, but it's not helping. Like we'll just skim it all. We'll have to skim the whole house, because if you're taking it down like this, we're gonna have to skim it anyways, and then you're gonna have damage to the ceiling. Like just skim the fucking thing. But I imagine if I were to do it, I would do it like what you said, just soak it, let it sit long enough, and
Mm-hmm.
then just come behind. Yeah, let it saturate, right?
Yeah, and then the floor scraper's got that long pole on it anyways. As long as
Yeah,
you're soft with it, you don't have to use your 12-inch knives and stuff like that and mess up your knives you tape with. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Floor scraper's dope.
they
It's a
last
good,
forever, especially if you're just using it for that.
yeah.
That blade's not gonna get all dinged up and everything if you take care of it. You know, you always got a nice surface after you scrape it down. I mean, nine times out of 10, you're gonna have to float the whole thing, like you said, anyways.
Typically you're going to do it anyways. Yeah, like if you're going to do a knockdown, you're going to skim it anyways, but I understand taking it off. Like if you go down to the bare bones, you understand what happens from then on. If you start like caking on mud onto some of these ceilings and it just start like it could fall off, like
Yeah,
for all you know, right? And sometimes it can go awesome, but sometimes it could probably go to shit. And then if you're in that situation, like how long does it take to scrape the ceiling, right? Just do it properly. Yep. I
I had a level 5 that was a disaster like that because the foundation wasn't fixed, and then it got fixed after I finished. So everything that I had done had big old cracks through it. And then right where they had cracks at, there was like shards of mud that fell off the wall. And I'm like, oh man, that hurt my heart. I was like, dude, this was that was a life lesson too. But that was 100 almost 100-year old house. It was built in
yep.
1930, almost 100 years old, and that house was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson. I did learn my lesson, and I got to prime a lot of surface before I put mud on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that that has screwed me.
Yeah.
Um,
You,
bubbling at the end.
you really do need to understand what's going on first, and then what you're putting the mud on, because just like you said, you get that bubbling and shit. Like that's just more times you're coming back. It's more times, more sanding to do. It's yeah, to quickly prime a surface is not much when it comes to fighting with it on the other end.
Mm-mm. No,
Yeah.
I I would love if they would just rip the board out, put new board, but
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I work with a lot of investors and stuff like that, and they're not trying to pay that.
No, they're trying to tell you to fucking hurry up.
Yeah, and they think that's being cheaper when it'd probably be cheaper in their pockets if they ripped it out and went new.
Well, it's definitely cheaper for them, right? There's no material costs, it's just your costs, and they get to beat you up on that. So,
Mm.
it's yeah, I have a hard time with those types of people, the investors. I worked for a company that um I think between the two of them, they never built a deck before, but this was like a site supervision company, a big GC company. And one of the owners, I don't know what he was. He was on, anyways, I don't want to get too far into it because he'll know that I'm talking about him. But the other guy was just a pocketbook, and like his opinions were just so fucking stupid. You were just like, okay, but if we do that, we're gonna hemorrhage money over here trying to fix what you're telling us to go cheap on. Like they just don't get it. They
Yeah.
see price values to things, and then they go, well, what if we just don't do that? It's like, well, then it's going to be a massive issue later on down the road. And sometimes those people go, I don't care. No, we'll see. We'll see. Like
Yeah.
it's like you're putting money on a roulette table where
That's
you're
what
just
I tell
like,
people about that trim text tearaway.
oh yeah,
I'm like, you guys want to have that yellow cocking in a couple of years? Or would you like that solid hard line forever?
yeah.
And it's a couple dollars more. Come on.
it, it it I am really focusing a lot more on extras, not hitting them afterwards with extras, but giving someone a fair price to tape a house. But if you want things like tearaway bead, or if you want, specific stuff, it's just extra because it takes more time.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? And even at the end of it, if you lose the work, but the customer understands maybe what they want a little bit better,
Mhm.
the next guy might come in a little bit cheaper, but at least they'll all get what they're looking for. These
Definitely.
like quick fixes, like you're saying, caulking and shit like that. Like, we're finishers. We're not fucking caulking people.
Exactly, man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's yeah, like I worked with a guy that said that he would just run a bead of uh silicone down the corners and like called it a day. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. Like you would have to get your money and run for that to work. And then you would constantly be moving because you would get a reputation so quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's a I like talking to guys like you where you've done all the difficult stuff already. Now it's just it's your decision to get faster if you want with the tools, but you've put in the work already. You understand the hand taping, you understand all the parts of it. You know what I mean? You're not just looking for the quick way of anything. It's all earned. It's impressive. There's not a lot of it anymore. I think it's guys jump right into it. Um, and then they're masters in day two. That
And
that's
that's what I think is that I always think to myself what you said about the school.
mhm,
There's no school for this anywhere.
no.
So why, like, you know what I mean? Like, what if we, like, that's why I wanted to teach it that day to all the kids because there's no school for it. I've thought many times about, like, uh, trade schools or something like that, because a lot of the guys that get out of prison or they had hard lives, they were ex-drug addicts.
Yeah.
I'm an ex-drug addict and alcoholic myself. I had a very, very, very dark past, but
Yeah.
that's why I fell in love with drywall. And it's kind of crazy because in drywall finishing, you run into a lot of the drugs and everything else.
Yeah.
But to me, it's different now. Now that I'm a business owner, it's different, and I truly love it. Like it's like that's this is my passion in life. Like I
Yeah.
tell my wife all the time. I said, this is it. If this is gonna make us or break us right now, and I'm not giving up.
Well, and I mean, if somebody came to my high school when I was 16 and they were like, "Do you want to just have fun and like do cool stuff and make six figures doing it?" I'd be like, that'd be fucking awesome. Where do I sign up for that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why we all had to land on our face and then look around and then find it. Like, where the hell was it when I was in high school? You know what I mean? Like, everybody's talking about going to post-secondary school, and like the amount of people that I know that racked up a fucking huge education bill and they don't even use it is shocking. But
That's why I'm lucky. I got into the welding because I went to the army.
yeah,
The army for the United States Army is, they got me with my GI Bill, and I was able to go to school and I learned how to weld, and that's how I ended up. But I wasn't able to go to school to learn this. If I was
yeah,
able to go to school to learn this, I probably would have gone to school to learn this instead. But you got to find your way into the trade, which you got to know somebody that knows somebody.
yeah. And I just think that's so totally unacceptable. I don't necessarily want to like get into what you were saying, where like some of the kids are rough around the edges and they're like don't want to be there. But there have to be kids that are just sitting there going, if there was any fucking escape at all, I would take it. I don't care
Mhm.
what it is, if there was anything.
Mhm.
And you know that they're sitting there in that situation, and you've got this drywall is one of the things in life that you actually get out of it what you put into it. If you want to work 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, you can do that. And you can make a lot of money doing that. Or if you want to work 40 hours a week, you can make a living doing that. Like
And very comfortable living.
it's a pretty comfortable living, man. Yeah, like it's like when I take a look at the contract side of stuff that I've been doing, where I'm running major sites and I'm like on emails and phone calls and doing strategy meetings and all this other kind of shit, I could just be working. I could just be running the tools, right? And then listening to my music, not dealing with everybody else's fucking bullshit. Like it's just simple.
Mm.
Um, and when you don't want to run the whole job yourself and you're just showing up to work, that's dead simple.
Oh,
And they're paying pretty good for that too. Like if you take a look at like 50 cents, so up here 50 cents is kind of what I would guess you would get in like a residential survey, like a cookie cutter house.
mhm.
But if you can do 10,000 board feet a week, that's 5 grand. Like you're doing all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just, and there's nothing. It doesn't follow you home. It doesn't call you in the morning. You just show back up and you tackle the beast, and then you go back home and do the same shit tomorrow. And that's starting to look like what's going to make more sense. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to work with the right guys
Mhm.
and start focusing on this community a little bit more, right? Try to
Yeah.
teach that next generation that it just life doesn't have to suck all the time.
Exactly.
Just take the reins a little bit,
Hmm.
you know?
I listen to a lot of people like, David Goggins and
Mhm.
uh
Who's going to carry the boats?
yeah. Or Grant Cardone, like Grant Cardone's always saying like, man, if it doesn't scare you, then it ain't big enough. Come
Yeah.
on. And then I try and like make myself feel like that in this industry now. Like, man, tonight I was terrified, dude. This was my first time ever. Like, I've been on one interview before, and I
Oh, you're
was,
doing great, man. This has been great.
yeah, man. It's flowed pretty nice, man. I was really
Yeah.
nervous, bro.
Yeah, and I mean, like when you walk into a site that's a little bit bigger than what you're used to, or there's an archway that you're not used to, or a new product that you're not used to, you need to attack it. Like you need
Mhm.
to just say yes. And if your ass isn't puckering up every once in a while, then you're not doing anything. You're just fucking bare minimum, you know?
Or, my big thing is a lot of these companies that just they hate on each other because they're in the same industry. I'm in the position where I got a lot of good friends that are also finishers that
Yeah.
if I'm in a pinch, I can call them and be like, bro, can you please come to my site and like oversee and let me know what I'm doing wrong right now?
Yeah.
Please. And they'll do it for me. But then there's some of those guys that they just hate every other person that's in their trade and they're better than them no matter what. And it's
That's
awful.
That's what I was saying to Aaron on his podcast, where there are people that just want to be fucking miserable. And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what you do with them. I think what I said on the podcast was you could find one of these people that won the lottery and they would go, "Oh, I wouldn't have so much fucking money if I didn't win the lottery." Like it would be whatever the next thing is to complain about. And those people, you just got to feel bad for them by yourself and move on. Like when I see someone acting like that, I feel sorry for them. Like I don't know how you're living your life like this, but it's got to be fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Like you gotta, my fucking alarm went off. I gotta put my fucking feet on the fucking floor and get up, go to the fucking bathroom. And like,
Yeah.
there's just your entire life being like that would be torture. It would be absolute torture.
yeah, like if I looked at these past 3 weeks as like, fuck, man, it fucking ruined me and this and that, I'd be giving up on everything that I've been trying to build, man. You
Yeah.
know, but
Well,
I got to keep my mind in the. It taught me something. It did teach me something for the future now.
that's what I was gonna say. Those types of sites that kick your ass are training grounds to not do them again, or there are things that you just need to have to get over and do it. Like stuff that you're not sure about or worried about. Like it has to get done. Go do it. And then, then you learn things about yourself.
Mhm.
You have to be uncomfortable, and I go a little heavy with it. Like I'm constantly doing difficult things. I'm constantly overworked. Like I'm pushing and pushing just to see where my head explodes at some point. But I mean, you don't have to do stupid shit like that, but you do need to be uncomfortable now and again. And
Yeah.
I think there's that feeling of accomplishment that I keep coming back to, that some of these people are just never going to feel it. And that sucks. That's like kissing a woman for the first time. You're just never going to feel that. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Taking, Jordan Peterson calls it fighting dragons, right? These things that you're afraid of, you have to go after it. And then when you slay that dragon, there's a feeling that comes along with that, and you can't buy it. You got to earn that shit.
No, man, it's got to be inside of you, and that's one of the things that I do is I lost my father to fentanyl overdose in 2019.
Sorry to hear about that.
My younger brother just passed away from colon cancer in June. He was only 24. So
Wow.
my my whole goal in life is helping people,
Yeah.
I tell people, man, even if I don't have work for you, hit me up. Let's go to AA meeting.
Yep.
I mean, even if you don't have a drug problem, let's go to AA meeting. You might be able to get your life back, because that's what it teaches you, is just how to restructure your life again to not make it feel like my life fucking sucks.
Yeah.
No, your life doesn't fucking suck. You're making it suck. Well, get out there and do something to make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like those situations are very humbling situations too, where you've got a room full of people being very honest, and some of those people are a fucking mess right now. And when you're sitting back thinking that everything's really bad right now, sometimes you got to see that life is really bad for some people right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that in itself, I think does a lot of help for people, where it's like you're not alone in this. And it's that old phrase again, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, right? Some people have been to war, and some people, dropped a toonie down a fucking manhole or something. Like, they're vastly different, but it is the worst thing. And it's just the life that you've lived so far. And people that fall into substance problems and drinking problems, things like that, it's because they've been down a path too, right? And it's usually a coping mechanism, or it's a taught thing.
Mhm.
um and I feel like a lot of people feel like they're alone until they go to a place like that, and it's very clear that you're not alone. And
Oh,
that's
definitely. And I like telling everybody too, man, like, it'll come a point where, I could be around you, you could be drinking, and I'm not going to tell you that, man, why are you drinking?
yeah,
Because I'm the one that has the issue, not you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I've learned how to have fun, even though other people are drinking, and I think to myself, man, I can't have fun as they are, but I really could.
you totally can. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just got to be inside of you to do it. And I like that's what I like about having this business, is that, I'm able to school these younger dudes up, or even sometimes old people that are older than me. They're
Mhm.
like, "You're only 30 years old?" Yeah, I'm only 30. And what, man, keep up with this, because in 5 to 10 years, it's going to be paying for you.
Yeah.
Promise you. And then, you know, I thought of it as like a yeah for a little while, but just recently I'm starting to feel like You know what, man? Like I have put my all into like trying to study new products, trying to keep up with the times, you know what I mean? I don't want to fall back in the times and just be so close-minded to the old stuff. You know, there's so much new technology that there's a reason why they're doing it.
And sometimes that's the biggest thing. If you can just keep your mind open to things, some things aren't going to work, or they're not going to work for you, and that's fine. But the ones that do, uh, what a fucking difference they make sometimes. That's for sure. For sure. Well, we got about 4 minutes left here, buddy. This has been an excellent, excellent episode.
This has been fun, man.
Yeah, anytime. Do you got any shout outs you want to do?
Um, let's see. Just to my crew, man. They kick ass, dude, and I wouldn't be doing as good as I do without them, man. And I just hope that, man, when you start this school or whatever, stay in contact with me.
Totally, man. Yeah.
Really, I really want to be involved with you guys as well. So I'm all about giving back to the community, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I like that. Yeah, I'm going to be as open as possible. That new industry standard page that I started, that's really what a lot of this is going to be on, where
Mhm.
it's my face isn't attached to it. I just run it. It's now it's just on Instagram, unfortunately, but it's that's exactly what we're going to do. It's just going to be dedicated to that and doing good. Um, yeah, we'll absolutely stay in touch. That's you're an interesting guy, that's for sure.
Thanks.
I want to see you get on some fucking tools though.
Yeah, me too, bro. I'm, I'm gonna do that soon. I definitely am. When we get some new company shirts and stuff, you guys send me your address.
Hey, I'd love to.
Yeah. But yeah, bro, it's been a fun time, dude. Think we're good.
Yeah, rock and roll. Okay, everyone, be humble, treat everyone the same, and do your fucking job.